Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm sharing inspiration using the Make Yourself at Home card kit designed by Hero Arts exclusively for Joann.com. These are available online and select stores. Now I'm going to be walking you through the contents of the card kit and sharing how I created 3 cards from it. You can always find more inspiration over on the Joann.com website. Now to quickly go over what's included in the kit, there is a New Day Butterflies 4x6 clear stamp set, the frame cuts to coordinate, mosaic daisy stencil, passion flower ink cube, paradise and pink grapefruit ink cube. You're getting a small blending brush, some glitter hero paste, purple enamel dots, and then some cardstock. Now let's take a closer look at these products. So your kit would come in this resealable bag, and inside of it is this insert card. So this card is really great for inspiration. It tells you what is in the kit. It gives you numerous ideas on the back. And then when you flip it over, there's a card there and the instructions on how to create that card. The products we have inside of this kit are these purple enamel dots. Then there is the mosaic daisy stencil that is 6x6. The New Day Butterflies stamp set and coordinating frame cuts. Then we have our mini ink cubes. So there's passion flower, pink grapefruit, and paradise. So these are what come in the kit. I will be using my full-size ink pads because I prefer to do my ink blending and stamping with full size. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. I'm just going to swipe these colors onto some cardstock here to give you a look at what these colors look like. So starting at the top there, we have a pink grapefruit, paradise, and passion flower. You also have some cardstock to get you started. So there are 2 sheets of the passion flower and paradise cut to 5.5 by 8.5, and then 2 sheets of vellum. We have a mini ink blending brush, which will help you add detail to your stencil. And then there is the Hero Arts glitter paste, which is beautiful to use on your mosaic daisy stencil. Now let's jump into creating our first card. So here I picked out a couple of the frame cuts from the New Day Butterflies set, and I'm lining them up on a piece of white cardstock cut to 4.25 by 5.5. So these are going to create windows into the front of my card panel. I'll be layering this piece over another piece of white cardstock that is 4.25 by 5.5, but I do want to add some ink blending to it. So I am using a larger ink blending brush from Hero Arts, and I'm starting in this top corner with the passion flower ink. Now, once again, you can do ink blending with your mini ink cubes. I do prefer to have the full-size ink pads to pick up my ink. I'm going to come down to the bottom corner to add some of that purple. And then I'm going to come in with paradise and kind of add that in the center. Now, every now and then you can bring in your window to make sure that your ink is going to be inside of those window areas. We want that ink blending to show through. I love the blend you get when you overlap the paradise with that passion flower color. So now I'll bring this over to my Misty stamping tool, and I placed both of the cardstock sheets inside of my Misty. What I'm going to do is stamp my butterflies inside of those windows to that back panel. So I'm using that front panel as my guide to line up the matching butterflies. They kind of fit in there like a little puzzle piece. Once I pick that up with the door of my Misty, I'll go ahead and remove that front panel, that window panel. Make sure my cardstock is tucked down in that bottom left-hand corner. And then I'm going to ink this up with some pitch black ink from Hero Arts. I'll go ahead and close the door and just stamp that down, making sure to really kind of apply pressure there because there's some details on these butterflies that I don't want to miss. Now, especially with a brand new stamp set, I do like to ink them up twice. Stamp sets that are brand new sometimes just need a little conditioning to get a really good impression. So I can stamp that down one more time, and now all of my beautiful fine lines are showing through. I'm bringing back in my window panel, and I'm going to stamp a sentiment off of the New Day Butterflies stamp set. I want to make sure to get this part done before I add this to my panel because I plan on adding some dimension to this front panel. So I inked that up with my pitch black ink and stamped that down. Once again, I'll ink it up a second time and stamp it down. You can also condition your stamp by rubbing your hand over it, or even using some embossing ink that helps condition it. Now for my window panel, I am adding some of this Altenew foam tape. Any foam tape or foam squares would work here. And then once I remove the backing of all of that, I'm going to line this up over my ink blended panel. So all that is showing through are my colorful butterflies. Now, most cases, I do not line it up perfectly, so I'm just going to take my scissors and trim off that little bit of excess on the side. So that is my first card. Now we can work on the second card, and for this, I am going to use that Mosaic Daisy stencil, and I'm attaching this over some cardstock using my magnets and my magnetic workspace. I'm going to start at the very top of my cardstock that I have cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm ink blending on the pink grapefruit ink. Then in the center, I'm going to come in with Paradise and kind of blend up so it fades into that pink grapefruit. And then at the bottom, I'm going to bring in the Passion Flower. And same thing, I'll apply that ink and blend up into the Paradise. You just want to make sure you're moving your blending brush in both directions to make sure you're covering the entirety of the stencil. Once that's done and I remove the stencil for a moment, I'm going to come back in with my blending brushes and just apply some more ink over those areas to kind of tone down that bright white that is in the background. If you need to, you can always go back to your ink pad and pick up a little bit more ink. Then off screen, I wiped my stencil down and I lined it back up over my panel. I am using that glitter paste that's included in the kit, and taking my palette knife, I'm going to spread this over the entire background. And then I can scrape off any excess. Just make sure the front of the card is all even. I have a nice even layer of this glitter paste, and I can wipe it back into that jar. I'll carefully peel that up. I'm going to set this off on the side and take my stencil over to rinse that off. You want to get that rinsed off right away. Now, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to work on another card. So I really liked the swiping that I did in the beginning of the video. So I'm taking those mini ink cubes and I'm doing kind of this swoosh across the front of the card. I started with the pink grapefruit, then I had the Paradise, and now the Passion Flower. And when I kind of swipe that across, I'm lifting up at the end. So I have that really organic swoosh going across the front of the card. I'm going to bring this over to my Misty tool, and I lined up a couple of the butterflies and also a sentiment. And I'm going to stamp these in the pitch black ink as well. So this is a really nice, clean and simple card. It's also just very natural with those swooshes growing across the front. If you would rather heat emboss your butterflies, I would suggest waiting to make sure that those swooshes of ink that we used with the mini ink cubes are nice and dry. Otherwise, your embossing powder is going to stick to everything. So to finish it off, I'm just using some of these enamel dots to embellish the front of the card. So that card is finished up, and I'm going to move back and work on some additional elements for my panel that I did with the glitter gel. I'm starting with picking out a few butterflies, and I'm going to stamp these down onto some white cardstock. I plan on heat embossing, so I prepped that cardstock with an anti-static powder tool, and I'm going to ink up my butterflies using the Unicorn Pigment ink. I really like using this ink when I'm going to do some white heat embossing. I just find I get better results from this. So after I stamped that, I'm sprinkling on the Hero Arts white embossing powder, and then I'm going to melt that embossing powder with my heat tool. Now we're going to do a little bit of emboss resist. So I picked out my Paradise ink and a blending brush, and I'm going to just lightly apply some of this color to one of these butterflies. I like to start really light because I can always add more color if I want to. I can't take it away if I come in a little bit too heavy-handed. So just adding that in the center of the butterfly, working my way out towards the ends. And then for the wings or the ends of the wings, I'm bringing in the Passion Flower. I'll just keep adding that ink until I get the darkness that I want to achieve. And then I'm going to move up to another butterfly. And this time I'm bringing in the pink grapefruit. I'll go over that as well. Now what is happening is that the embossing that we did is resisting the ink. So our butterflies are going to be a nice bright white with these pretty shades of colors. For the third butterfly, I'm going to go back and use that Paradise. I do end up taking a smaller blending brush and add a little bit darker of ink to the one side. And then I'll do the same thing for the one with the pink grapefruit. I grabbed a smaller blending brush and I just went in and added some more ink to the center so that it was a little bit darker there. Then used the coordinating dies to cut them all out. For my stenciled panel, I wanted to tone that down a little bit, and one of my favorite ways to do that is just taking a piece of white cardstock and the rectangle infinity dies and creating a frame. So I like really thick frames, and then I'm adding some foam tape behind that frame, and I'm going to add this over that stenciled panel. I really like the colors. I really like all of that glitter that is in there, but I just wanted to tone that down a little bit. And this is just one of my favorite and probably one of my easiest ways to do that. I could leave this as is and just add a sentiment, but I wanted to add those butterflies that I had done. So they are going to overlap. So part of the wing is going to be on the border and part of the wing is going to be towards the inside. Now I did stamp a sentiment off screen. I added a piece of foam tape to one end and then some liquid glue to the other. So the part with the liquid glue is the part that's going to attach to the frame. Same thing with the butterfly. I added a little bit of foam tape to the wing that's going to be kind of overlapping that panel, and then the liquid glue to the part of the wing that is overlapping the frame. That's going to help balance it out. And that's going to finish off this card project for you. So there are 3 more card ideas for you using the February 2023 Make Yourself at Home card kit by Hero Arts, exclusively sold at Joann.com. I will have pictures of all of my projects over on my blog linked down below in the video description. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again really soon.